Last month, KPBS spoke with a group of conservative men, mostly veterans, about immigration reform. They didn't mince words.
The bottom line is there were guys that were serving our country, keeping me alive, keeping my fellow brothers alive, and that's why I'm here today.
Robert Blessing is a retired Army chaplain. He's talking about non-citizen soldiers who have become deported veterans. Right now, there are roughly 40,000 non-citizens serving in the armed forces. Those who do not finish the naturalization process and get in trouble with the law risk being deported.
This is outrageous. They fought for us. They swore to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign, domestic. They get in trouble after that, and we kick them out. I haven't found anybody who says that's a good idea.
This is personal for Blessing. He visits deported veterans in Tijuana. And once, he performed a naturalization ceremony during a deployment in Iraq.
And it was a wonderful experience to say, welcome to America while you're serving our country in a combat zone.
No one would confuse these guys for liberals. They say explicitly that they're not woke, they're not open borders, they're not pro-amnesty. They believe immigrants who committed violent crimes should be deported. Jim Sprout is a civilian who recently joined the deported veterans movement.
Yeah, there are people that have been deported that I'm glad are deported. But this is a select group. This is people that served this country. They didn't do any heinous crimes.
It hasn't taken long for him to become an outspoken advocate.
I have to say I was appalled when I heard about this. So much so that I'm very glad to be here, very glad to bring this out into the open.
And if Sprout is the movement's new recruit, Robert Vivar is the battle-tested veteran. He's with the group United U.S. Deported Veterans Resource Center.
The deportation of veterans is worldwide. We had deported veterans to over 40 countries around the world.
Vivar says that most veterans are deported after committing a criminal offense, like drunk driving, drug possession, having an unregistered firearm, or domestic violence.
You know, there's no secret, there's no denying veterans get into trouble. Why? Because, they find it very difficult to re-enter civilian life.
He is lobbying for a proposed federal law called the Veterans Service and Recognition Act. It creates an expedited pathway for any service member to complete their citizenship process by the time they finish basic training. The bill also calls for a committee to review cases of deported veterans to see if they should be allowed back in the U.S. Vivar says it's been a challenge to get conservatives to support the bill.
The problem that we're hearing, and we've been hearing for a long time, is that they try to correlate it with an immigration issue. And that's where I think the whole subject gets blown out of proportion.
Instead of looking at it as an immigration issue, he says it should be viewed as a Veterans Affairs issue. And other veterans who have served with non-citizen soldiers agree.
For me, it's a very personal issue. I worked alongside those guys and gals. And
Andy Waters is a retired U.S. Navy veteran. He says immigrants are an asset to the military.
There are people that have expertise and knowledge, language skills, other kinds of things that maybe you don't get. You get what you get in terms of volunteers for an all-volunteer force, and sometimes we can't, from U.S. citizens, recruit all the people that we need.
The bill was introduced last year and hasn't made it out of committee. Advocates now see an opportunity with Donald Trump in the White House and Republicans controlling the House and Senate. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.